Hello, dear students. How are you? I'm delighted to meet you again. This time, I will conduct a class for the students of Honors fourth year. In our last class, I started with CLT, meaning Communicative Language Teaching. And I told you that this methodology for language teaching is combined with 3 lectures. Actually, I told you we will complete the whole process or methodology with 2 classes, but it's a very big topic, or you can say it's a large topic. This topic CLT or this methodology CLT will be completed by us with the help of 3 classes. In our first class, I talked about what CLT is. I told you the background of CLT. I told you characteristics of CLT, and I told you the principles of CLT. Today, I will talk about another 4 important portions of CLT. I will talk about the role of the teachers or the teacher. I will talk about the role of the learners. I will talk about materials. I will talk about classroom activities of CLT. So, today we will talk about 4 important portions of CLT. One is the role of the teachers, another is the role of the learners, and at the ending part of our lecture we will talk about materials as well as classroom activities. So, our first topic of discussion for today is the role of the teacher. In CLT, the role of the teachers is really significant. I have told you that with CLT, we have the target to achieve communicative competence. In order to achieve communicative competence, the teacher has a very vital role to play. If the role of the teacher is not perfect enough, the target of CLT will be questioned. Okay, if the teacher plays his or her role in an effective way, this process, that is CLT, will be really effective. So let us talk about the role of the teacher or teachers. Here, a look at the teacher works as the teacher works as a facilitator. Facilitator. What does it mean? Facilitator. Facilitator. Facilitator means someone who gives facilities. Here, the students will be in the classroom, and teacher will try his best to give them all sorts of facilities they can. If the teacher gives them proper facilities, the communication system, or you say communicative competence, can easily be attained. So the first role of a teacher is to facilitate the student. Then we have to talk about the second one. The teacher will also work as, that means the teacher works as a analyst. Look at here, analyst means according to this portion, the teacher will look into the classroom. The teacher will look into the strength and weakness of the students. The teacher will look into the whole process, whole classroom. Okay, he will try to analyze. He is going to try to analyze the problems. He will try to analyze the problem, the process, the solution that the students can be given. All the things will be analyzed by the teacher. Then we will talk about the third role of the teacher. The teacher is a good counselor of this system. So the teacher works as a counselor. We know that in the classroom, there are different categories of learners. Some are really talented to understand everything. There may be some of the students who are weak in terms of communicating with one another. Here, the teacher will counsel the weaker students. The teacher will counsel both the talented and both the dull students, so that they can effectively communicate with one another. So the teacher will work as a counselor. Then we need to talk about the fourth role of a teacher. Here the teacher will be working as a look at the fourth point. There is monitor. CLT is sometimes called a teacher-oriented methodology, a teacher-oriented approach, because the teacher will play an active role here. The teacher will monitor the whole classroom. The teacher will look after the students, or you can say learners. The teacher is all in all. If the teacher can monitor the whole process, including the materials, the learners, the weakness, the strength of the students, the communicative process, the communication of the learners, this CLT will definitely be effective. So, our fourth point is the teacher will work as a monitor. Now we need to talk about the fifth point. Teacher will also work as a look at I have talked the first one was facilitator, the second analyst, the third one is counselor, and the fourth one is monitor. The fifth one is the teacher works as a group process manager. The whole process of CLT is definitely dominated, or you can say supervised by the teacher. Okay, he is the facilitator, he is the monitor, he is the analyst, he is the counselor, and he or she is the group process manager. The whole process is managed by the teacher, or you can say the teachers. If this manager is active enough, the whole approach of CLT will definitely be crowned with success. And this is all about the role of teacher. Now I'd like to talk about our second portion. So dear students, in our last class I talked about what CLT is. Then I talked about the background of CLT. Our third point was characteristics of CLT. Our fourth point was principles of CLT. Now our fifth point was the role of the teacher, or you can say teachers. Now I'd like to talk about the role of the learners. I have told you that CLT is such an approach which is teacher oriented to some extent. The teacher plays an active role. But if the learners are not active enough, the whole communication system may be questioned. Now I'd like to talk about the role of the learners. The teacher role is more significant than the role of the students. The teacher will guide the student, the teacher will monitor the students or the learners, the teacher will look after, the teacher will look into the whole process. But who will make communication? The first question comes. Who will make communication? For whom we need to ensure communicative competence? The teacher knows a lot. The teacher has the ability to gain communicative competence. Here, this communicative role is played by the learners. The learner work as Communicator. Look at the learners work as communicators. There may be a number of students in this approach. While class activities are going on, the students or the learners are asked by the teacher to communicate with one another by giving a lot of materials. The learners communicate with themselves, and within communication they come up with a lot of opportunities, and thus they gain communicative competence. So the first role of the learners is that they work as communicators. They also work as negotiators. I have already told you that in this approach there will be a lot of participants. There may be a lot of participants, and these participants will talk to each other in different activities, and while they are going to talk with one another in different activities, they will have to negotiate with one another. That's why we can call that they will work, or they work as negotiators. So this is our second point that we have completed. We have talked about the role of the learners. Now I'd like to talk about classroom activities. Which classroom activities actually strengthen the process of CLT? What are the classroom activities by which CLT gets its momentum? So 6th point. There are different classroom activities that the facilitator or the teachers or the monitor, we can say that the monitor or the teacher introduces different kinds of classroom activities. I'd like to write some of them. There are different kinds of classroom activities. Now I'm going to write them on the board, and you are requested to have a close look. What are the activities? What are the classroom activities that the teacher introduces inside the classroom so that the learners can be benefited? The first classroom activities is, we can call it information gap. Information gap activities. Number 2 is called peer and group work. This work or these activities are held between a peer or a group consisting of a lot of students. Information gathering activities. Look at information gap activities, peer and group work, information gathering activities. We can share opinion, sharing activities. There are, we can say, role play. Role play is also an effective activities in the approach of CLT. So dear students, up to this part we have discussed the role of the teacher, the role of the learners, and we have talked about classroom activities. And today we are going to talk about our last portion of our discussion. So today I have discussed the role of the teacher, the role of the learners, and the classroom activities. Now our last topic or last portion for today's discussion is materials. Materials of CLT. Actually, there are three types of materials introduced in the classroom activities of CLT. There, text-based materials. Number 2, task-based materials. And the third one is called realia. These are the third materials that the teacher introduces in the classroom activities. So, my dear students, I have talked about our 4 target portions of CLT. So, what were our today's discussion? We talked about the learner, the role of the teacher. The role of the teacher was followed by the role of the learners or students. We have talked about different classroom activities, and at last we have talked about materials of CLT. So this is all for today. In our next class, I will talk about the advantages and disadvantages of CLT as some other points. So within the third class, that means our upcoming lecture on CLT will show us the completion process of this approach. So within these three classes, hopefully we will be able to complete CLT in detail. Okay, this is the same class. I would like to welcome you to my third class that will be held within a short time. Keep in touch with us. Please stay safe and blessed. Thank you. Goodbye.